Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Scott Manning coming to you live from Scott Manning YouTube Sports Talk. It is now time for the Scott Manning YouTube College Basketball Tournament break. This is to give you early analysis of the early games today, and I'm also going to get you ready for tonight's action. It's going to be a great show. Let's have fun. I'm only going to be here for about an hour because the Big East final starts at 6:30 tonight. So I only got about an hour, so bear with me. We're going to have a great time. Let's have a great show, and let's get right to it. The Big Ten early games today were very much a big no big surprise. Michigan State took care of Ohio State today, 77-70. Cassius Winston, 15.7 rebounds, 5 assists. Matt McQuaid, 12 points, 4 assists. Foster Loyer, a bench guy, 14 points, 3 assists, 2 steals today in Michigan State's big victory. Nick Ward did play some today. He only had like 6 or 7 points today, but it doesn't matter. Michigan State's moving on. Moving on to the Big Ten semifinal. For Ohio State today, Keyshawn Woods, 16 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal. Andre Wesson, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. And congratulations to Michigan State today. With Michigan State's victory, they are moving on, and Tom Izzo got his 600th career win at Michigan State University. So congratulations to the Michigan State Spartans on that accomplishment. Michigan State coach Tom Izzo said, "There's no time to celebrate an accomplishment like this. We got to worry about what's going to be happening next in the semifinals tomorrow. We still got a lot of things that have to be done. We're a long way from the finish line." Now, as far as Ohio State goes, the Buckeyes' victory over Indiana might have just got them in to the NCAA tournament. They're done, but I think they are in. So keep that in mind. Ohio State coach Chris Holtmann said, "Hopefully we can get in. I'm very hopeful we can get into the NCAA tournament. We'll have to play a first 4 game no matter what happens. But I think now we're safely in to the NCAA tournament." Now, Andre Wesson was back today. He only scored like about 8 or 9 points in the ball game today. So Michigan State gets a big victory over Ohio State. They will be awaiting Wisconsin. And Wisconsin was a big winner today, 66-60 over Nebraska. Nate Rivers, 14.6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 block shots. Kyle Iverson, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. Brad Davidson, 11 points, 4 rebounds. Anthony Ford, 11.6 rebounds. For Nebraska, Gary Watson Jr., 23 points, 5 rebounds. Jesse Palmer Jr., 15 points, 2 rebounds. Wisconsin coach Greg Gerard was not happy with his team in the first half and the way they controlled the basketball. They had 9 turnovers early in the game. They couldn't get anything going, but it was a big victory. Michigan State will be facing Wisconsin in the Big Ten semifinal, and that will be coming up here sometime next. And now we already know one half. Now Michigan State's moving on to the Big Ten semifinal, along with Wisconsin. We'll have the later games tonight, and there's going to be a lot to talk about there too. Now, as far as the SEC tournament goes, Auburn and South Carolina just went final. I do not have any information on that game. I will get the information for you tonight, but I can tell you right now, Auburn was a 71-61 winner today over South Carolina. So that's all the information I have at the moment. I'll have the final announcement. It's actually 73-64. My apologies. I'm just trying to up to date. I don't have the standard technology like a lot of these big name networks do. But anyway, it is what it is. I will have the updates. I'll have the final numbers for you tonight on the Auburn South Carolina contest. But now let's talk about Florida LSU, the shocker of the day. The Florida Gators upset the number 1 seeded LSU Tigers in the SEC tournament. LSU's head coach Will Wade is still suspended amidst an FBI investigation. The interim coach today, I didn't get his name, he got a technical foul, and it which allowed a 6-point swing today for Florida to pull off the upset of the year. And boy, was it an upset in the SEC tournament. 76-73, Florida was a winner today. Andrew Nembhard, Mr. Hero himself, game winner, Mr. Game Winner, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Keontae Johnson, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. Jalen Hudson, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. Kevon Allen, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. Kavarius Hayes, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 1 block shot. Florida is now safely into the NCAA tournament now. They had to get a big upset. They got one. They upset a number 1 seed LSU in the SEC tournament. But LSU had Nazari, 26 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. I hate those kind of numbers in a losing effort. Javonte Smart, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block. That was it for him. Now LSU is going on to the SEC final. Florida's going on to the SEC semifinals. And that was a very interesting game today. I watched the final few minutes of it, and I'm thinking, you got to be kidding. If Florida pulls off the upset, they're into the tournament now. So now, it's going to be a very interesting road tonight. Here today, this was earlier today. But what's coming up tonight is going to have everybody talking. So let's get started with the ACC semifinals. Now I'm going to start it out with Florida State versus Virginia. And as it stands right now, Virginia is a 9-point favorite going into tonight. And Florida State coach Leonard Hamilton said, I'm not worried about numbers like that. I told my guys, go play hard. And they have to play hard. And they got to play better than they did against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, Florida State barely beat Virginia Tech 65-63 in their last game and earlier in the tournament. Terrence Mann had an overtime game winner. But as Virginia, they had no problem against NC State. They used a big second half to beat NC State 76-56. And also, too, keep in mind, Virginia did beat Florida State 62-52 way back on January 5th. And this is Virginia's 5th trip to the ACC semifinals in 6 seasons. So who are the players to watch out for tonight? For Virginia, you know about Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter. For Florida State, I have Mfiondu Kimanagle, Terrence Mann, and Trent Forrest. Now, what can Florida State do to stop Virginia Tech? Well, first they got to get Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome, and DeAndre Hunter into foul trouble. If they don't do that, Florida State's toast. And Terrence Mann, he's got to go on a scoring spree. He's averaging like 10 points a game. He's got to have at least 20 if they're going to beat Virginia. That's all there is to it. Mfiondu Kimanagle, he's averaging maybe like 14 points per game. He's got to have at least close to 15 to 20 if Florida State wants to beat Virginia. Trent Forrest, he's been averaging only 9 points per game. He's got to have at least 15. All 3 of these guys that I mentioned for Florida State have to have a big night. And that's all there is to it. Now on the Virginia end, what can Virginia do? All they got to do is Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter. Those are my 3 watch guys. Kyle Guy is a guy to watch tonight, along with Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter. Now, if one of those guys goes on one of those 3 go on a scoring spree, it's lights out. Virginia coach Tony Bennett said after their big victory over NC State the other night, he said, I'm awaiting the winner. If we have to play Florida State, we've beaten them once already. It'll be our pleasure to do it again. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but wherever the chips fall, they fall. Well, that's about all you can say for this game tonight. Now, this is the early game, but it's the late game in the ACC tournament tonight, in the ACC semifinal. That's everybody's going to be talking. And it's Duke, North Carolina, the third go-around between these two. And remember, Zion is back. Zion Williamson is back for Duke. And also, too, I have him back on my watch list. Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, and Trey Jones. Now, do you remember what happened in the very first go-around in Durham between these two teams? Zion Williamson got hurt, suffered a knee injury after his Nike exploded, or after his Nike shoe ripped in half. And it showed. Zion's absence showed in the last 6 games. With Zion, they're 24-2. Without Zion Williamson, they're only 3-3. And with Zion Williamson on the court, Duke averages 44 points in the paint. Without Zion, they're only averaging 34 points in the paint. That's huge. And remember, North Carolina has took both meetings. And keep in mind, both Duke and North Carolina are coming off big wins earlier in the tournament. Duke took care of Syracuse 84-72. North Carolina took care of Louisville 83-70. So both teams are coming off of huge meetings. And both schools, believe it or not, both teams, and I'm not making this up, Both teams have 101 all-time victories in the history of the ACC tournament, which is an all-time record for big tournaments like this. The ACC, everybody talks about Duke, North Carolina, and you're seeing why tonight. And you're going to see why in the rubber match. I think Duke's going to get revenge. I really do. Duke's got revenge on their mind after what happened with Zion and Durham, and after what they did, after what North Carolina did to Duke in Chapel Hill. Think about that for a minute. And of course, the three watch guys. Zion Williamson, he's back. R.J. Barrett, another dangerous man. Trey Jones, look out for him. For North Carolina, Luke May, Kobe White, and Cameron Johnson. But don't forget about Garrison Brooks either. He can do some damage. I haven't forgot about him either. So this is going to be a very interesting game here tonight. So now, that's the ACC. Let's talk about the Big East semifinal. This is going to be one that's going to be interesting for many, many reasons. And keep in mind, both Xavier and Villanova, they played each other twice. They split during the regular season. But Xavier might have a very slight edge, and you'll find out why. Najee Marshall, 14.8 points per game. That was during the regular season. Paul Scruggs, 12.1 points per game during the regular season. That could be important. Quentin Gooden, 11.1 points per game. Tyreek Jones, 11 points per game. Zach Hankins, 10.5 points per game tonight. And this is the early game. Remember that. And Xavier's coming off of a 63-61 victory over Creighton. Xavier had to struggle. Right now, according to Joe Lunardi, Xavier is one of the next four out. If Xavier upsets Villanova, they may have some help. This will be a major, major help for them here in the Big East tournament. Villanova's the number one seed. And if Xavier pulls off the upset, look out. I mean, Joe Lunardi has been living in this bracket bunker, literally been eating and sleeping there for almost the last 100 days or so. I shouldn't sound like that, I'm sorry. But it is what it is. Let's think about that. And also, too, for Villanova. Villanova, they are coming off of a huge victory over Providence, 73-62. And keep in mind, Phil Booth's been averaging 18.4 points per game. Eric Paschal, 16.7 points per game. Colin Gillespie, 11.5 points per game. Now, this is the defending national champion Villanova Wildcats that struggled throughout pretty much early in the season. They couldn't win a ball game. A lot of people are thinking they're going to be down and out. But all of a sudden, Villanova has shown me a lot here in the last few weeks. So keep in mind, what's going to happen is, if Xavier answers the bell early, and if Xavier pulls off a huge upset, this is really going to turn everything upside down. Because Xavier, as it stands right now, they're the next four out. If Xavier upsets Villanova in the Big East tournament, look out. It's going to shake everything up. And the bottom line is, it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes here tonight. And this is the first game of the Big East tournament. Keep that in mind. Now, for the next game in the Big East tournament, Seton Hall versus Marquette. Look out. This is going to be the one that I'm going to be watching with very special interest, because Seton Hall has miles and miles and miles and miles. Miles Powell, 22.9 points per game. Miles Cale, 10.5 points per game. Look out for those two. For Marquette, Marcus Howard, 25.1 points per game. Then you got the Hauser brothers. Actually, for Marquette, you got the Hauser threat plus one. Marcus Howard, 25.1 points per game. Sam Hauser, 14.7 points per game. And I think his brother Joey, averages like 9.5 points per game. Keep that in mind. And Seton Hall and Marquette did split during the regular season. Seton Hall won the first meeting 70-66. And then in the second meeting, Marquette took care of them 73-64. Seton Hall is coming off of a huge victory over Georgetown earlier in the tournament, 73-57. Marquette is coming off of a huge victory over St. John's, 86-54. Marquette is number 2 seeded in the tournament. They're solidly in. Seton Hall, I think they're in. Seton Hall, think about this for a minute. Seton Hall, earlier in the season, they were thinking they're going to be like one of the first 4 out, the next 4 out, or one of the last 4 in. Seton Hall, even if they lose to Marquette tonight, I still think Seton Hall is in the tournament, and here's why. They beat Marquette earlier in the season. They knocked off Villanova earlier in the season. They knocked off the top 2 in the conference. And if you're throwing the victory over Kentucky back in December, that's a real big help for them too. So Seton Hall, I think, even if they lose tonight, I think Seton Hall is still in the tournament, no matter what happens here tonight. That's pretty much all you can say about the Big East. And here's the deal. A lot can happen, and it usually does. And I'm going to tell you this now. It's going to come down to whoever wants it the most. Whoever wants it is going to be the team that gets it tonight. And that's the Big East semifinal. And I'm not going to go any further about the Big East until later tonight. Now, let's talk about the Big 12 semifinal. Here in the Big 12, this is interesting. And here's the deal. In the Big 12 semifinal, I figured Texas Tech was going to go all the way. They lost to West Virginia, all teams. So, oh my darling, Texas Tech is going to be sick. I'm sorry, I just found it cute. I just had to do that. But before that tonight, before Kansas faces West Virginia tonight, I want to talk about Iowa State and Kansas State here for a minute. For Iowa State, this is an Iowa State Cyclones team that 2 months ago, when they faced Texas Tech 2 months earlier, it would have been the hottest ticket in town. But Iowa State struggled to get to the finish line, and that was pretty bad. Now, also too, Iowa State did beat Baylor 83-66 earlier in their last game out in the tournament. And Iowa State and Kansas State have played twice during the regular season. Iowa State won the very first meeting 58-57, but then Kansas State got their revenge 78-64 in their second meeting. So who are the players? And Kansas State coach Bruce Weber said, it's going to be a very interesting game tonight. I know we're facing Iowa State. We've split earlier in the season. Each team is 1-1. We'll have to wait and see what happens tonight. And Iowa State is coming off of a huge victory over Baylor 83-66. Kansas State beat TCU 70-61 earlier in the tournament. So now, who are the players to watch for tonight in this one? First, for Iowa State, I have Mario Shayak. He's back. He's a dangerous individual. Lindell Wigginton. Look out for him too. Taylor Horton-Tucker. He can shoot the basketball like anybody I've ever seen. Michael Jacobson. Look out for him. And the bottom line is this. This is a very good team, but Kansas State has 3 guys who can really do some damage too. Barry Brown Jr. This is going to be a very interesting game tonight. And keep in mind too, Kansas State is going to be without Dean Wade. Dean Wade is out for the rest of the season, at least for the rest of the Big 12 tournament. I'm not sure for the NCAA tournament, but as it stands right now, Dean Wade will not be playing in the Big 12 tournament. And that's all there is to it, my friends. But still, Kansas State, they got some weapons of their own. Barry Brown Jr., he's a very dangerous individual. Don't sleep on him. Kamir Stokes, he's another guy to watch out for. And Xavier Sneed. Look out for him too. He can do some damage. Keep in mind, Dean Wade is the second leading scorer for the Kansas State Wildcats. And without him, you're thinking that we're in trouble? Here's what Kansas State needs to do if they want to beat Iowa State tonight. They got to get Shayak into foul trouble early. They got to stop Mario Shayak from having a chance to get to the basket. Lindell Wigginton, if Kansas State does not get him into foul trouble, it's going to be trouble for Kansas State all night. Because Shayak and Wigginton are the 2 biggest weapons that Iowa State has in their arsenal. So this game is going to be very interesting to see how it goes. And surprisingly, the basketball power index is given the edge to Iowa State. But I can see why now. No Dean Wade for Kansas State. Kansas State is minus Dean Wade, and we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Will that be a factor? We'll have to wait and see. But that's one part of the Big 12 semifinal. Here's the other part of the Big 12 semifinal. Kansas, West Virginia. Can you believe we're talking about the West Virginia Mountaineers in the Big 12 semifinal? I mean, this is a West Virginia team that finished 14-19. They're below 500. The only way they can get into the NCAA tournament is they got to get the automatic bid. That's the only way that West Virginia is getting in. And also, too, keep in mind for Kansas, Nola Gerald Vick, he's gone for the rest of the season. And they do not have and Kansas does not have Udaka Azubuike available. So Kansas may be in a little bit of trouble here tonight. And keep in mind, both teams split meetings during the regular season. West Virginia won the first meeting 65-64. That's how West Virginia got their first Big 12 win of the season. And Kansas got their revenge back in Lawrence 75-53. So keep that in mind too. And Kansas is coming off of a huge victory earlier in the Big 12 tournament over Texas 65-57. West Virginia upset the favorites in the Big 12 tournament in Texas Tech 79-74. So what about the game tonight? It's very simple. Dietrich Lawson and Devon Dotson, the only two surviving starters left. Without Nola Gerald Vick, no Udaka Azubuike, and keep in mind too, Kansas is going to be without Silvio De Sousa. He's ineligible for the remainder of this season and all of next season because of some eligibility issues. Kansas coach Bill Self said, I'm a little bit worried about West Virginia because they've beaten us before, and they could do it again. But again, I'm down two of my best starters, and we're in a world of trouble. West Virginia coach Bob Huggins said after his victory over Texas Tech, well, we beat Texas Tech. We shocked everybody by knocking off Texas Tech. But if we can beat Kansas, we can really turn the Big 12 upside down. And that's a possibility tonight. West Virginia, they knocked off Texas Tech. What makes you stop and what makes you think they can knock off Kansas tonight? Now, I know you guys are thinking, oh, Scott, you've lost your mind. Well, maybe not. Because if you stop and think about it, no, Kansas does not have Nola Gerald Vick, no Udaka Azubuike, no Silvio De Sousa. There's a lot to think about for the Jayhawks tonight. And let's think about this for a minute. This is the Kansas Jayhawks team that struggled on the road in Big 12 games all season. They couldn't win a game on the road. They got embarrassed by Iowa State. They got embarrassed by West Virginia. They really got embarrassed by Texas Tech, who's out of the tournament now. But still, and this is a Kansas team that got embarrassed by Kansas State, and they're one of the reasons why Kansas didn't win the Big 12 regular season. And I went with Texas Tech to win the Big 12 tournament. Now they're out. So that means just about anything can happen tonight here in the Big 12. And here's the deal. I got to go with I'm thinking about going with West Virginia on this one because no Vic, Azubuike, or De Sousa for Kansas. Three big names right there. And that's why Kansas coach Bill Self is a little bit concerned. And I'm going to say this now. It's going to come down to who wants it the most. And we're going to have to see who answers the bell here tonight. All right. Here now. We've already had two games in the Big Ten tournament earlier today. But now we got to focus on the Big Ten evening games and the SEC evening games in tonight's tournament action. All right. Later tonight, the Minnesota Golden Gophers will face Purdue. Carson Edwards for Purdue has been named the Big Ten Player of the Year. Congratulations. Carson Edwards, look out for him. I'm not sure if he's been named Big Ten Player of the Year or not. I don't want to get any information incorrect. Carson Edwards, look out for him for Purdue. 25.1, he averages almost 25 points per game. Ryan Klein, he shoots over almost 42% from beyond the arc. So there's two big weapons right there for Purdue. They're the only two weapons they have. However, look out for them tonight. But for the Minnesota Golden Gophers, I got Amir Coffey, Jordan Murphy, and Daniel Othru on my watch list for tonight. Minnesota coach Richard Pitino said after the victory over Penn State, I think we're safely into the field now. I'm not sure if we're safe yet, but I think we are. Purdue coach Matt Painter said after their victory over Northwestern about last week, he said, we've had a double bye. We've had time to think about it. Time to think about what we can do here in the Big Ten tournament. Now, we've split during the regular season. I am a little bit worried about that, but got more confident in my guys because this is the rubber match, and anything can happen, and it usually does. And Minnesota is coming off of a 77-72 victory over Penn State. Penn State coach Pat Chambers said after that disappointing loss, he said, "Our season is over, and there's not much we can do about it." And also, too, keep in mind, Purdue is coming off of a 70-57 victory over Northwestern. And in the first meeting between Purdue and Minnesota, Purdue took the first meeting 77-63. And in the second meeting, Minnesota got the revenge 73-69. So this is the rubber match. Anything can happen. And the bottom line is, I think Purdue is going to be a hard team to beat. I really do think that. And I'm going to say this now. If it comes down to who wants it the most, here's what needs to happen tonight. If Minnesota wants to upset Purdue, here's what needs to happen. Minnesota has got to get Carson Edwards into foul trouble early. And they got to limit Ryan Klein to taking shots from inside the arc. If Minnesota lets Ryan Klein go on a three-point barrage, it's going to be lights out early. We'll know later tonight. And here's the deal. This is a game that's going to be decided by the three-point shot. The three-point shooting is what's going to decide this game. Because you got Ryan Klein, shoots almost 42% from beyond the arc, and it's going to be a very interesting game. And it's going to comes down to whoever wants it the most. And it's going to be fun. And now, for the other game tonight in the Big Ten tournament, Iowa versus Michigan. Now keep in mind, Iowa and Michigan have only met once during the regular season. And that was a 74-59 victory over Iowa. But keep in mind, Iowa coach Fran, and also too, keep in mind, Iowa limped to the finish line. They lost their last 4 games, and this is after the Fran McCaffrey suspension. He was suspended for screaming the F word during the Ohio State game. And I'm going to say this now. McCaffrey's back, and they got a big victory over Illinois in the tournament, 83-62. And this is a great news for them. But what about the Michigan Wolverines? They're looking for their second straight Big Ten championship. And they're coming off of a loss to Michigan State, 75-63. About a week ago. So who are the watch players for tonight? For Iowa, Tyler Cook. Look out for him. He's very tough. Luka Garza. Don't forget about him. He can shoot the basketball very well. Jordan Bohannon. It's going to be a very interesting night to see how that goes. Joe Weiskamp. Don't forget about him. He averages 10.5 points per game. So don't sleep on him. But for Michigan, Charles Matthews is back. That is great news. He missed the last couple of games he missed the last game due to a sore ankle. He's back. Jordan Poole. He can shoot the ball too. Ingus Brasadakis, the leading scorer for the Wolverines. Michigan coach John Beilein has already said he's had his team playing on high tempo during the time the season started. So now, Michigan faces Iowa. This is a rematch of the game earlier in the year. We'll have to wait and see what happens tonight. So here's what needs to happen if Iowa wants to pull off the upset. They got to get Brasadakis into foul trouble. And they got to stop the shooting of Matthews and Poole. Those two can shoot the ball very well. They can shoot the rock like there's no tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you right now, if Tyler Cook goes on a 20 to 25 point barrage, or Garza, Bohannon, and Weiskamp can get 15 to 20, all three of them can do that, they can knock off Michigan. But if they have trouble during the game tonight, it's going to be lights out. And that's all there is to it. And I'm going to say this now. This is going to be a game that is going to have a lot of people talking. And here's the deal. If they can stop them early, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Michigan, Iowa, that is the late game tonight at 9:30 on the Big Ten Network. Now, on to the Southeast Conference evening games for tonight. The first game of the night is going to be Alabama versus Kentucky. Now, I know it sounds silly that I'm talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide, but this is a football school, and Alabama did knock off Kentucky 77-75 during the regular season. However, Alabama coach Avery Johnson has had his troubles against the Kentucky Wildcats in the SEC tournament. Everybody in the SEC tournament, they are 8-0 against everybody else. Every other team, they're 8-0 in the SEC tournament. When it comes to Kentucky, Alabama's 0-3. Now, who are the players on the watch list for Alabama tonight in this battle against Kentucky? Kiara Lewis Jr., look out for him. I think he averages like 15 points per game. Dante Hall, look out for him. And John Petty, I haven't forgot about him either. And Alabama is coming off of a 62-57 victory over Ole Miss earlier in the tournament. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to come down to who wants it the most. But for Kentucky coach John Calipari said, it doesn't matter if we can win the Big Ten tournament, I take every challenge seriously. And Kentucky is coming off of the double bye. And Kentucky's coming off of a huge 66-57 victory over Florida last week. So there's a lot to think about there. Now, who are the watch players for Kentucky tonight? P.J. Washington. Look out for him. He can shoot the ball. Tyler Hero. If he can be a hero tonight, he can get Kentucky into the next round, into the semifinals. Keldon Johnson, I haven't forgot about him. Reed Travis, there's another big name to think about tonight, my friends. So if you're thinking Washington, Hero, Johnson, and Travis, those four guys are on the watch list for Kentucky tonight. And like I said, Alabama and Kentucky have only played each other once. Alabama pulled off a huge upset. Alabama coach Avery Johnson is very aware of it, but he has struggled against Kentucky in the SEC tournament. And that's all there is to it, my friends. Now, in the other game later tonight, and before I go any further, I want to congratulate Grant Williams on being named SEC Player of the Year. And my congratulations to him on that honor. For Tennessee, they face Mississippi State tonight. And Tennessee won their only meeting 71-54. However, keep in mind, Tennessee lost to Auburn 84-80 in the final game of the regular season. So there's something to think about there. Mississippi State, on the end, they're coming off of a huge 80-54 victory over Texas A&M in the previous round of the ACC Tournament. So who are the players on the watch list for Mississippi State? I'm going to get that out of the way. Quindary Witherspoon, look out for him. He can shoot the ball very well. Lamar Peters, he averages like maybe 10 to 12 points per game. So to think about him. And Tyson Cantor, he can shoot very well too. But for Tennessee, you got Grant Williams. Congratulations once again on being named SEC Player of the Year. Emerald Schofield, those two are the double threat right there. However, there's three other threats for Tennessee. Jordan Bone, don't sleep on him. And Jordan Bowden and Lamont Turner, don't sleep on those two either. What can Mississippi State do tonight to upset Tennessee? Well, first, they got to get Grant Williams into foul trouble early. They got to get him frustrated they got to get Williams and Schofield into foul trouble early. In Mississippi State, they've got to stop Jordan Bone. They got to stop Bone, Bowden, and Turner. If they don't do both of those tonight or all that, Mississippi State is toast. That's all there is to it. And as for Tennessee to beat Mississippi State, Grant Williams, do what you've been doing all year, my man. That's all you got to do. Emerald Schofield, in the supporting role, do your part too. And the other three, Bone, Bowden, and Turner, if you can get about 12, 13 points tonight, you guys got it wrapped up. That's all there is to it. So there you have it. My preview of tonight's action. And before I go real quick, I got to hand out some awards for today's earlier games. For the Michigan State-Ohio State contest real quick, before I go. Cassius Winston, 15.7 rebounds, 5 assists. Congratulations to you, sir. You once again are a recipient of a Scott Manning Basketball Hardwood Award. Matt McQuaid, 12 points, 4 assists. You, my friend, are a recipient of a Scott Manning Basketball Hardwood Award. Foster Lawyer, 14 points, 3 assists, 2 steals. Congratulations to you, sir. You get the triple Scott Manning Basketball Hardwood Award. And this is a first-time award recipient for you. So congratulations on that honor. For the Wisconsin-Nebraska game earlier today in the Big Ten tournament, Nate Rivers, 14.6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. Congratulations to you, sir. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hardwood Award. Kyle Iverson, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. Congratulations to you, sir. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hardwood Award. Brad Davidson, 11 points, 4 rebounds. Congratulations to you, sir. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hardwood Award. For the Florida LSU contest in the SEC Tournament game earlier today, Andrew Nembhard, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. The three-pointer at the buzzer to win it all. Congratulations to you, sir. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hardwood Award. Keontae Johnson, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. That's worthy of a Scott Manning Basketball Hardwood Award. Jalen Hudson, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. Congratulations to you, sir. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hardwood Award. Kevon Allen, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. Congratulations to you, sir. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hardwood Award. Kevarius Hayes, 11 points, 8 rebounds, 1 block. Congratulations to you, sir. You just got yourself a Scott Manning Basketball Hardwood Award. Now, as far as the Auburn-South Carolina game, I will have those numbers later for you tonight. I will get those to you here later this evening. I didn't get a chance to because the game was still in progress when I went on the air. I will have those numbers for you later tonight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are about 25 minutes away from the first game of the Big East semifinal. I will be back tonight at midnight or 12:30 a.m. Eastern time when all the games are over with, when I got all the notes wrote down. I want to thank you guys so much for being with me during this game break. I will be back tonight at midnight Eastern time to get you ready for the wrap-up show. Thank you guys so much for being with me here this afternoon or here this evening. Enjoy the tournament games tonight. There's a lot of them in progress. My remote's going to be getting a workout. So thank you guys so much for being with me, and God bless. Goodbye, everybody. And